So this is clearly an act of terrorism. It's sickening. It should make every American angry. This is would ever happen anywhere in our country. The first thing you think about is you just can't imagine what these families are going through. The families are still waiting to find out what happened to their loved ones. The most important thing we can do right now, as law enforcement is doing their job, and our healthcare workers are doing everything they can for the victims, is pray for everybody. Thank God we have the law enforcement we have at the state, the Orange County Police Department, the Sheriff's Department, FDLE, all the federal agencies. Everybody's coordinated their activities very well. It's heroic, the individuals that went in to the building knowing there was an active shooter. So we need to be very thankful that there are individuals that are willing to risk their lives to save other lives, and they clearly saved other lives. For anybody that thinks that they should do this, I can tell you the state of Florida, the local law enforcement, will be swift in their justice. We have great law enforcement in our state, and they're going to always do the right thing. I declared a state of emergency for Orange County. We're going to provide all the resources that anyone needs. But I can tell you, everybody's going to work together, and that's one thing great about our state, Orlando, Orange County, and I want to thank all the federal agencies for all their support. But right now, our hearts and prayers go out to everybody that's been impacted this. I can't imagine a family member that is still waiting to find out what happened to their loved one. It has to be heart-wrenching. I know the state attorney wanted to say something. Yep, did you want to say something? Thank you.
I just want to thank the governor for coming down to join us. This is a terrible, terrible, evil act. As a father of 7, I called and checked on some of my kids this morning to make sure they were okay. We're doing everything we can. Law enforcement is working well together. Our victim advocates are helping out to see if we can help with families, and I just encourage everyone, as I did my staff, to please donate blood, because we're going to need a lot of it. And I want to thank our local law enforcement officers for the amazing job they've been doing. Thank you, sir.
I'd be glad to take any questions. Excuse me just for a second. The law enforcement's already said when the mayors have said when they're going to have another press conference, which they'll provide more information. There's a lot of unanswered questions, and at that time they'll be able to answer the questions.
Governor Scott, was the suspect someone that was on your radar beforehand? Were authorities in Florida aware of this suspect and any bad activity he may have been up to?
I know there's a later press conference. Law enforcement will answer all those questions.
You said that this is an act of terrorism. Can you just define why? What makes this an act of terrorism?
Well, this is clearly an act of terror. This is, I mean, you just can't imagine this would happen to our community, our state, or anywhere in our country. But for somebody to go in there and be an active shooter and take those men, that number of lives, any life, but that number of lives and injure that many people is clearly an act of terror.
Governor, will this event make you change your views, and would you back any kind of gun legislation or restrictions on gun purchases, anything like that?
Right now, this is the time to find out exactly what happened. It's a time to pray for those that have been that have lost their families, that have lost their lives. Pray for the victims. There's going to be plenty of time to deal with, how our society comes together. But I can tell you, the Orlando area, the Orange County, the state of Florida, we're very resilient. We will come together and do everything we can to help everybody that's been impacted, but also bring this community back together again.
Governor, can you talk about the bullet points?
I have not talked to him yet.
Governor, can you talk about the bullet points why you issued the state of emergency here in Orange County? And
Sure.
what does that mean for the families and the victims?
Sure. We declared a state of emergency to make sure that all the resources that would be necessary for the city and the county would be necessary. Anything that would be needed from the state is available immediately. The head of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, Rick Swearingen, is the coordinating officer, but we worked with the mayors and the sheriffs and the police chief to make sure they have all the resources they need.
Governor, what do you know about what was happening between 2 a.m. when this started and 5 a.m. when it ended?
law enforcement will answer all those questions. They're having another press conference at, I think, at 1:30.
Governor, do you know how many families of the victims have been contacted at this point?
I know that again, all that will come out as law enforcement will put all that out. But I know they're working hard to reach every family member, and also they have victim advocates, as the state attorney said, to take care of all these families. You just can't imagine it happen. I mean, I have daughters, I have grandchildren. I can't imagine this happening to my family.
Will you be meeting with the families yourself, Governor?
It's devastating. You know, you don't want this to happen anywhere in the world, okay? But you know, I can tell you, law enforcement, our elected officials, the mayors, at the state level, we work coordinator activities, hoping this would never happen. We work with the federal government, hoping this would never happen. But it's devastating when you see how many people lost their life and just the impact it's going to have on their families. I mean, I've got kids and grandkids. You can't imagine.
Will you be meeting with the families yourself, Governor?
I will meet with the families at the appropriate time. Look what they're going through right now.
Governor Scott, we're hearing that there was some kind of impediments this morning in between communication between the families and the hospital staff due to privacy regulations. The White House has been contacted. What role may you play in trying to help facilitate the families being able to connect with those still in the hospital?
I think the way I understand, that's been resolved. So.
Is there anything that you can do on a policy level to stop something like this in the future?
Look, we're dealing with a tragedy right now. Our prayers go out to everybody impacted. Law enforcement's doing their job. There will be plenty of time to think about how do we continue to improve our society, and we're going to continue to work on how we do that. Look, we're a resilient state. Bye-bye.
I'll answer you one HIPAA question real quick. So the CEO of the hospital came to me and said they had an issue related to the families that had come to the emergency room. Because of HIPAA regulations, they could not give them any information. So I reached out to the White House to see if we could get the HIPAA regulations waived. White House responded through appropriate channels to waive those so that the hospital could communicate with the families that were there.
Have all the victims at the hospital been identified at this point?
I don't know. I think the majority of them have been. We have not identified the victims that are still in the nightclub. But I believe that the ones that have been transported to the hospital and are deceased have been identified. Thank you.
To the president
I have spoken with the president, the governor. Everybody has lent their support to this. The president offered any resources that the federal government could possibly provide. The FBI has just been tremendous. The FDLE has been tremendous. So we have no complaints about our state partners and our federal partners and their help. Thank you.
When you talk about the things that you need from the federal government, what are some of those things that you need immediately right now?
Well, the waiving of the HIPAA laws so that the doctors and healthcare personnel can communicate with family members was probably the most important, but we've got on the ground what we need from the federal government right now, which is the FBI and all of their resources and the coordination with FDLE and OPD. So there's not too much more than I can ask of them. They were here immediately in response. They've done a lot of research into the shooter that they'll be prepared, I think, to update you on. The next press conference is probably going to be around 2 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am State Senator Geraldine Thompson, and Pulse nightclub is in the Senate district that I represent. And I just had an opportunity to speak with the governor about the state of emergency that he has declared, and to thank him for making sure that the resources that are needed come into this community. And we know that there are people donating blood, and while they are making that sacrifice, we're calling on the community to support them by providing water, providing food, and the governor and I are going to have a serious discussion about reform, because the families not only lost members of their families to this tragedy, but they lost a feeling of safety. And so when we talk about safety, we have to talk about how guns come into the hands of violent and unstable people. How is it that assault weapons that are used in military operations get into the hands of a single individual? And how is it that magazines of weapons and bullets that are usually used in military combat come into our communities. And so we can't feel safe until we address those issues, and those are some of the things that I'll be talking with the governor about.
How do you think that issue become such a political hot button as it is? Something that really needs to...
Well, every time we have one of these mass shootings, we talk about reform, but nothing is done. And this has brought it home to our doorstep. And as I said, I'm going to be talking with the governor about what we can do with regard to some of our laws. We have people who buy guns at gun shows, and they are not required to have background checks. They can buy guns from private individuals, and they're not required to have background checks. So these are some of the kinds of things that can be put in place. And I am heartbroken for the victims. I'm heartbroken for their families. I want their families to know that we are working to address this problem so that hopefully we won't see this as something that's routine that happens in our communities time and time again.
Geraldine, could you please say and spell your name for us again?
My name is Geraldine, spelled Geraldine. Last name Thompson, Thompson. I am the state senator that represents the community where the Pulse nightclub is located in Tallahassee, Senate District 12.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My name is Patty Sheehan. I'm the first openly gay elected official in Central Florida, and I'd just like to say something to my community, that I understand this is heartbreaking, that the largest mass shooting in America happened in a gay club, and it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking for me. It's very difficult for me as I have to wear a city commissioner hat, but I'm also a member of this community. This is an establishment that I go to. And this was an establishment that actually had an officer at the door, an armed officer. You know, there's only so much we can do to protect people, and the bottom line is what I want to say is to my community, there's been a lot of people that want to have vigils and things like that, but there are so many officers on scene right now. We need to let them do their jobs. We haven't even gotten all the victims out yet. So please, everybody, if you want to help, please give blood. If you need to have grief counseling, or if you had somebody in your family that's affected, the Gay, Lesbian, Bisexual Community Center at 942 North Mills Avenue is providing grief counseling for anyone that needs it.
Can you please say that again? I'm sorry.
Sure. The Gay Community Center at 942 North Mills Avenue has grief counselors available right now for anyone in the community that needs it. The gay community has, you know, unfortunately, we're used to dealing with crises and losing people. It's very sad, but I want to shout out to Terry DiCarlo at the center that's done an amazing job mobilizing this for people who need it. And our hearts go and prayers go out to the victims. I am sure that I have friends that were in that club. I just found out 10 minutes ago that the owner that I know is safe. She's very concerned, of course. She was on vacation. She's flying back. This is a horrible tragedy for our community. But I just want to say that we, as a gay community, gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender community, are a people who love. And if you think that you're going to stab at the heart of us by doing this horrible, violent act, you're not. Because we love, we are a resilient people, and we're going to show you in the face of this that we're going to have people lined out behind those blood banks. We're going to show what the good heart of humanity is, not the bad, horrible part of it is. And you cannot get your message across by killing people. You're nothing but thugs and murderers. And we will show you that we are a better community and a better America than this. Thank you.
Can you say and spell your name?
My name is Patty Sheehan, Pattysheen. I wish I had never had to do this. Thank you.